So now that you've had an introduction to the sections of an HTML page and the required tags at a minimum to create an HTML page, let's talk about some commonly used HTML tags. Okay, before we can really get into those tags, let's talk about website file structure. And a website's files and folders exist on a web server like your files exist on your computer. So you kind of think of it as the My Document structure. You probably have things organized maybe by your whatever class you're taking and then whatever week or lesson you are within that class. And so you want to think of your website as something almost like a setup of your My Documents, because the more organized you are with your web files and folders, the easier it actually will be for folks to navigate. It also allows it easier for you to maintain because you're not looking for everything in one folder. And again, it's a sign of professionalism. Okay, so how should you organize them? You want to organize files by type. You want to place images, multimedia files, and scripts into their own folders. And this is an example of a screenshot of a basic website structure that you would save things to. So you're going to put your images in the images folder. If you have some type of include, some scripts, you can put them in there. And then the other ones you see, the Internet Explorer, those are your actual HTML documents. And we've also included a CSS document. That's called the root of your website, and that's perfectly fine. As your website expands, I actually worked on a website one time that had thousands and thousands of web pages, 10,000 plus web pages. And so you can imagine the file structure at that time was very unorganized, and there was just a lot of resources just put into trying to understand how the file structure of that website was set up. So the more organized you are in the beginning, the easier it will make your life as you move forward with web design. Okay, so now that we understand it's important to organize our files, let's talk about the syntax of an HTML tag. Okay, so other than the document type declaration, HTML tags should be in lowercase. And the normal rule is that HTML tags come in pairs, known as the open tag and the close tag. And you will also often hear them referred to as the start and end tag. The open tag consists of a left angle bracket, a right angle bracket, and the HTML element inside. And if you look at this first example, the body tag, that would be considered the open tag for the body element. And you can see we've typed the lowercase word body, we have a left angle bracket and a right angle bracket. The end tag consists of a left angle bracket, a forward slash, a right angle bracket, and the HTML element inside. For example, the end tag for the body tag would be left angle bracket, forward slash, lowercase body, right angle bracket. And there are exceptions to the rule. Just like the English language, there's a few tags that do not require an end tag. These tags have a left angle bracket, a forward slash, and a right angle bracket with the element inside in lowercase. For example, the image tag and the line break tags do not require end tags. Okay, so most of tags come in pairs. You have to know how to place the tags on a page. And because the browser is going to read the page top to bottom, you want to make sure you follow something called a nesting format. Basically, if you start an element, such as the body tag or any other tag that requires an end tag, then you want to start another element. You must end the second element before you end the first element. Okay, so let's take an example. For this one, we're using paragraph tag, the open tag, then we're going into the font tag, and then we have some text. Today is so beautiful. So this would be a new paragraph, and we're giving it a color. Okay, so that's why we have the font tag. But as you notice, if we do this, it's going to produce an error. So if you actually put that into an HTML document, it would produce an error. Why? Because we didn't end the second element. The second element was actually font color. So we did left to right. So we had the P tag, which was a paragraph tag, and then font tag. But we should have ended the font tag before the paragraph tag. Okay, so now we just saw that that font tag had something called an attribute. And attribute are basically characteristics that are used to kind of add some additional features to a tag. So the body tag, we could have it by itself, but here we're adding an attribute of background color. So we're actually coloring the background of the web page. So let's take a look at commonly used HTML tags. Headings in HTML are used by search engines to actually index the structure of your page. So that's very important. A lot of folks don't know that. But they should be used for headings only, not to add size to text. And they are created using H1 through H6 tags. The H1 tag is the largest and H6 is the smallest. So you'll definitely want to try those out when you practice your own HTML page. Formatting tags. Now, some of these are deprecated because we're into HTML 4.0, but I wanted to just present them to you so you have an understanding of the concept of formatting tags. These can be accomplished using CSS, but if you wanted to use a transitional format on your HTML document, you could still include these. The B tag is used for bold, and strong is used for strong, and you're going to look at that and say it's they look very similar. It's because they've actually deprecated one and moved into another. Same with italics. Italics and emphasis. And you can also make text big and small. Big and small. Pretty interesting. So in between the start and the end tag is where you'd actually put the content or the text that you wanted to format using these tags. Okay, so some deprecated fonts. In early HTML, the font type of the text was managed using the font tag, such as Verdana or Tahoma. The font tag had several attributes. You could change the color, the size, the type that allowed you to manipulate the look of the text. And this was very helpful and gave a really good look to web pages early on. The font tag is now deprecated because they want to move away from using HTML for formatting. They want to use CSS for formatting. So you're going to want to use cascading style sheets to manage the fonts on your page. Okay, hyperlinks. We've talked about this in a couple videos, but a hyperlink allows you to use text to connect web pages, or you can connect sections within the same web page. The hyperlink tag is an A tag, and it uses something called the href attribute, and it's used to connect to other pages. So for example, this would be, you would have a href equals double quotes, you'd put the URL in there, and then you would close out the tag. So click here for more information would actually be the hyperlink. The target attribute allows you to handle how the link acts. So in this example, by using target equals underscore blank, we would actually be opening this website into a new window. And let's talk about images. The image tag is used to display images. It does not have an end tag, it's IMG, and it is an empty tag, so you do not have to use an end tag. It needs the source attribute to show a picture. It can't exist with IMG alone, and so an example would be IMG source equals, and then you put the path of the image, and that's called a relative link. You can also have an absolute link, and that's where you have IMG source equals, and you actually put the full link in there. Now you'll be using an absolute link for your example because you may not have the ability to post an image for this exercise, but for good development practices, you really don't want to use an absolute link because in this example, if FGCU changed the background cobalt white grad.jpg and you didn't know about it, then your link would be broken on your web page. So you want to use a relative link, which means you save the image to your web file structure, like I showed you earlier in the video. Okay, and make sure you include the alt attribute with each logo. This is an additional attribute, ALT. This is makes you web compliant for folks who may be visually impaired and are using something like a screen reader. So if they have images turned off or they can't see your image, the alt tag is when you roll your mouse over an image, your cursor over an image, it brings up a little yellow box with text, and that is your alt attribute. And you want to get into the habit of putting text in that describes your picture in the alt attribute. And then finally, tables. The table tag is used to display content on a page in a structured format. It's kind of like adding some shelves to your closet so you can better organize your stuff. A table consists of rows and columns, and where a row and column meet is called a cell. The TR tag is used for a row, and a TD tag is used for a data cell. And I'll just outline real quickly. This is the basic structure of a table. This particular table would have one row and one column, so it would actually have one cell. Okay, so that's a basic table structure.